Captain Griffith, good morning to you and welcome back.
Hi, good morning. Always my pleasure.
Let's jump straight into this discussion about the current Commissioner of Police, Ulla Christopher. She was recently quoted as grading herself as excellent given her first 100 days in office. Would you agree with Commissioner Christopher that her first 100 days have been excellent?
Well, no, definitely not, and it's really it is unfortunate. When I was commissioner of police, I would understand that how your performance is measured. It is not based on you thumping your chest or giving your own views, but it is based on the results you will get from your annual evaluation by the Police Service Commission, or they'll be contacting you on a regular basis to tell you if they're pleased or not pleased, and also more importantly, that of the public. Public trust and confidence in the police service and public trust and confidence in the commissioner. That is the catalyst to ascertain if it is that you're doing a good job. And even so, when I was commissioner of police, even though it was the highest reduction in crime, public trust and confidence in police moved from 14 to 55%. 89% of the country wanted me to remain. That still, you would have seen my on the front page of the newspaper after my first year. I said I'm still not satisfied, because there must be room for improvement, and that is how she should be operating. But in her case, everything that I just spoke about under my watch, and I still was not satisfied, and I would not have given myself excellent. She has done just the opposite. In her first 100 days, it is the highest spike in crime, or the worst crime record we have seen of any commissioner in their first 100 days in office. And she has given herself excellent. I mean, it is very unfortunate, but it is not different to McDonald Jacob, where he encountered, I think, the lowest public trust and confidence in the police. He would have taken it from 55% when I handed over to probably less than 10%. And he himself gave himself a B plus with the highest crime rate in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Fitzgerald Hines is no different. He's the only person who actually thinks that he's doing a good job. So when these things happen and you're in authority and you actually do not understand your own performance rating, and especially that of your employers, that being the public, and how they see you, well, then we're in some tough time.
How do you respond to the view that Ulla Christopher can't snap her finger and deal with crime overnight, and that crime or dealing with a crime it's a protracted process? And maybe it is a fair assessment to say that she has been doing the best that she can under these circumstances.
Oh, definitely, I agree. Doing the best she can. And those words you just used, it sums up the situation we're in right now. People, I am not here to blame Ulla Christopher or to point fingers at Ulla Christopher. She is doing the best that she can do. But if it is you do the best that you can do, you can't say that your performance is excellent. It's like somebody who just cannot do an exam. They're not good in the subject. They do the best they can do, and then you say, well, that means I should get an A grade. It doesn't work that way. Doing the best you can do is all that the country can expect from you. And I think I could personally tell you, I know Ulla Christopher, she is doing the best she can do. But sometimes that is not good enough. Remember, Ulla Christopher placed 22nd in 2018 by qualified persons who did the assessments for Commissioner of Police. So I got from 82% to her 52. 22nd. In 2021, in the assessments where I got 94, she got about 74. And the reason being, we had qualified persons that were doing the assessments. This was changed now to a politician handpicking a president who handpicks members of a police service commission. In that police service commission, it is a financial officer and a speaking consultant. Both of them named Maxine, and they have no knowledge, no training, no experience whatsoever in law enforcement, but they are the ones who selected Ulla Christopher. They imposed Ulla Christopher on us. So I would ask the public, instead of us attacking Ulla Christopher, criticizing her, she didn't impose herself on us. She applied, and we had an incompetent police service commission that did their evaluation and took a lady who placed 22nd by qualified experts from the United Kingdom and put her first for their own personal personal reason. That police service commissioner are the ones that the country should demand that she resign, and not Earl Christopher. But Earl Christopher is doing the best she can. She's not very tactical or operational or strategic. She's very good administrative. And I think what happened in media, they put a mic to her mouth and she has automatically blasted, "I'm doing an excellent job." I think in hindsight, she would regret it. But again, on 100 days, which is what I said, when she said that she's going to reduce crime by June, I said it was impossible. But we had criminologists that said it can be done. And again, it is another issue we have in this country where our media is the only media in the world that go to criminologists to get information on law enforcement, because criminologists have no qualification or training or knowledge in law enforcement. Their training has to do with understanding crime and the cause of crime. But they said, no, she'll get it done. I said it was impossible because of what was handed over to her by McDonald Jacob, the highest crime spike in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. So I knew it was going to be impossible for her.
What do you think the next 100 days should look like? The first 100 days, obviously, she claims it was excellent. There are persons who will claim otherwise. What do you think the next 100 days ought to look like for Christopher? If you know that she's listening to this program and you need to give her advice, what would your advice be to her over the next 100 days?
Well, the first thing, to take advice from those who were there before. She has refused to take my advice, just like McDonald Jacob. I offered, I said, listen, I can help you. I want you to succeed. I know she does not have the capability. She's not a tactical person. She's not operational. She's not strategic. So she wouldn't have the capability to understand the things that we would have implemented that caused the highest reduction in crime in 25 years. The Special Operation Response Team, National Operations Center, the E999, the Emergency Response Patrol, social media monitoring, covert operation units. She doesn't understand those things. She's good administratively. So for the next 100 days, she needs to understand, trying to just work on behalf of your political employers who give you an extension and speaking or parroting what it is they want you to say or do is not going to help you in your process. Speak to persons who can help you. I want her to succeed. I do not want her to fail. The second thing she has to do is to understand, she has to be very careful of the comments that she makes, because people will hold on to it and they will target her and point fingers at her. The two main comments that she has made that the country has remember her by in her first 100 days is to pray to reduce crime and giving herself an excellent rating. So she needs to back off a little, and before she speaks, she needs to think, because the country is going to remember her for the words that she brings out. She needs to get, the third is to get public buy-in. Get the public to believe in you. Get the public to trust you. Get the public to know that I am trying my best. Not you saying that I am excellent and that we're going to pray to reduce crime. And that is, you see, the public trust and confidence is something totally different to crime reduction. Crime could be going up, but public trust and confidence could also be going up based on how you act and operate with the public. So if even in my first year, crime was there were over 500 murders, because I inherited 4 years of constant increase in crime. But because of the things that I was putting in place, the public saw the foundation, and that is why I got a 76% positive rating from the public in my first year. The second and third year, you started seeing the massive results. So she needs to do that. She needs to get buy-in from the public. She needs to start speaking to the right persons, and she needs to be very careful of the comments that she makes, because, as I said, her first 100 days, what the country is remembering her by is stating to pray for crime, and that she has done an excellent job.
Captain Griffith, I'd like to ask you your views on this Brent Thomas fiasco. We have not spoken since this entire matter came to the fore, and we have been seeing layer after layer of new information coming in. The latest is that the state has launched an appeal, and therefore the appeal is before the courts. But having said so, there's a lot of concern over the role of the Professional Standards Bureau in all of this, the involvement of the Barbadian police, the question as to who from the local security forces could have sanctioned this, the possible role of the Minister of National Security, the possible role of the Commissioner of Police herself, or anybody from the Commissioner's office. What are some of the thoughts that are on your mind in this whole entangled web as it relates to the Brent Thomas affair?
Well, this is the meritless reloaded. This is based on political interference and getting involved in operations involving the police or an independent body, and then it backfires. This is exactly what happened with the meritless, where again the police refused to investigate, and I showed the minutes to show that Blissy Prasad broke the law and she should have been arrested, and they have refused to touch Blissy Prasad because they know that she may very well decide to pre-bargain and state who really influenced her to do it. So this situation is no different. As a previous Minister of National Security and a previous Commissioner of Police, let me speak to the public now and explain to you all, no one is more fully aware of this system than myself. So the comments that you're hearing from the Prime Minister, it is false, it is misleading, it is mischievous. For the Prime Minister to try to state that there's no way anybody in his government is aware of it, that is a lie. So let me clarify that. That is a lie. Keith Rowley, you cannot state that the government does not know. It is impossible. I'll tell you why. That the Commissioner of Police, he or she, we have no authority to have any police officer leave the country without approval from the government. That is one. Because two, the Commissioner of Police only has authority within Trinidad and Tobago's territorial waters. So you cannot send anybody abroad unless you inform the minister and get requisite approval. It is as simple as even if the police or defense force has a hockey match to play, and I played hockey for defense force for 15 years, you can't leave the country unless the minister approves it, even to play a sporting game. If police football team has to go and play a CONCACAF game, you need approval from the government because the commissioner cannot grant that approval. The commissioner also cannot grant approval for the police to be involved in any joint operation with an external organization without the requisite approval of the government. The Commissioner of Police also cannot have any authorization to acquire a Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force or a CARICOM aircraft without the approval from the government. So this is a massive cover-up filled with lies because there's no way that the government could not know. So for him to be playing this game, saying that the government does not know, that is impossible. I will be writing to the Police Complaint Authority who investigated this matter and bring this to their attention, letting them know that it is not virtually, it is impossible. It means that somebody external to the police service assisted and gave approval for the police service to be involved in this despicable act. And those persons could very well be involved in aiding and abetting in a criminal offense. And then what makes it even worse is that we have now seen the Welfare Association of the Police Service having the audacity to speak about the hurt and the trauma that these individuals they are receiving. These members of the Professional Standards Bureau, you have committed an act on a law-abiding citizen. What about the trauma of Brent Thomas? What about what he is enduring? The police service has something known as the Victim and Witness Support Unit. That is to dealing with trauma of victims of crime, not the persons who may have committed the crime. But you're speaking now in trying to put a sympathetic way to ask the public to back off. To back off? To start with, it is impossible. And the judge said it. The judge said that how could these officers still be in the police service? They have not been suspended. They are not being investigated. Up to now, Ola Christopher hasn't stated who is doing this investigation. If the investigation is by the same PSB that these other individuals are part of, and they still remain in the police service and are not even gone on administrative leave, this could very well cause them to influence the investigation of where it may very well be that criminal activities could have taken place by certain police officers. So for the audacity of Mr. Dixon and the Welfare Association to try to throw the sympathy hand and to tell him back off. You didn't want. What about the trauma of Brent Thomas? He's the person that had to endure being abducted, being kidnapped, being handcuffed, being embarrassed. He went through all of that, and your concern is the individuals who put this act on Brent Thomas. That is impossible. And finally, as it pertains to the Barbados Attorney General, when he made the mistake to state that it was not an abduction, it was an abduction. An abduction is if someone is apprehended against their will or their influence through false means, and that is what they did. There was no extradition order. The warrant was drafted in a very, very clandestine way, and the man was handcuffed and dragged. That is an abduction, Barbados AG. So I mean, it is unfortunate that you will try to question the court ruling and the statement by the judge, which was accurate. So somebody was abducted. taken, handcuffed, all of his constitutional rights just thrown out the window, and the Police Welfare Association is more concerned about the trauma that these individuals are facing because of the public's frustration. Let me tell Trinidad and Tobago, whether you're PNM, UNC, ABC, or XYZ, what happened to Brent Thomas could happen to you. So for the Police Association to be concerned about the trauma of these officers, they should have been suspended immediately and an investigation launched. And my final point, this is not the first matter with the PSB. 3 years ago, there was I had a source, and he put a sworn affidavit confirming that members of the PSB were involved in a massive clandestine operation to try to bring me down to have me removed from office with lies. That investigation has been buried. This PSB, it is not the first time they've been involved in such activities. We also have a report of a very junior officer in the PSB meeting senior government officials at the diplomatic center to brief them and update them about firearms. This PSB, you shut down SWAT after one incident when SWAT did so much to peg back crime. But this PSB, if it's any unit that should be disbanded immediately and rebranded with new names, new faces, is the PSB.
It's very interesting that you went into the direction of the PSB, because I was about to ask you your views on the comments made by Gideon Dixon, who is the president of that association. Captain Griffith, there are some other matters I'd like to ask you about, but I'd like to invite you to stay on the line with us for a brief moment as we do our time check. The time in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago is now 7:35 a.m., and that comes to you with the compliments of KY's Electrical Supplies Limited.
KY's Electrical Supplies Limited of Southern Main Road, Cunupia, for all your electrical and plumbing supplies, water heaters, filters, and water pumps, plus all parts for Goulds, Pentax, Leo pumps, and your complete electrical needs. You can choose from leading brands such as Cooper, Varma, BTCino, Leviton, and General Electric. Remember, visit KY's Electrical Supplies Limited of Southern Main Road, Cunupia, or call 665-6954.
Welcome back to the People's Platform. This is the new U97.5FM. Our guest this morning, former Commissioner of Police, former Minister of National Security, Captain Gary Griffith. And we have been speaking on a range of issues, starting with the rating that Commissioner of Police Ulla Christopher has given herself, jumping across to the Brent Thomas matter, and also looking at recent comments being made by the Police Social Welfare Association President, Mr. Gideon Dixon. Captain Griffith, there's one newspaper that is quoting our murder toll as of today as standing at 228. There are persons who are extremely concerned about our ability to treat with crime. On one hand, you have where the Prime Minister from time to time launches attacks or makes statements against criminals on political platforms. On the other hand, you have the current Commissioner of Police stating that between June to December, there should be a reduction in crime. Then you have so many other instances that tell us that maybe the hopes that we all have that crime will be under a certain level of control may be just that, simply hopes, and not necessarily be realized. What are some of your thoughts on this murder figure of 228 crimes as of today, and where do you think we are headed by the end of this year?
Well, if it is that you utilize your resources and your target in the wrong direction, you're not going to get the right results. This government has spent all of their time, their focus on national security, dealing with legal firearms. 9 out of every 10 times they speak on national security, it's about legal firearms. Ola Christopher, she has now decided to parrot the exact words of her political employers who gave her a 1-year extension. And you'd have seen a headline of 100 legal firearms, 100 crimes committed by legal firearms. Now we have over 20,000 serious crimes a year. So in the last 10 years that she was looking at, that's 200,000 serious crimes. So she decided to pick up 0.05% of a matter. And of those 100 crimes committed by legal firearms, it had to do primarily with law enforcement officers losing their firearm, having negligent discharges in a station or a security office. And it shows again her loss of direction. 100% of all the murders committed by firearm under her watch have been by illegal firearms, but look at what she decides to speak about. So when you have a commissioner that decides to sing for the supper and not focus on the real issue, which is what I did, illegal firearms, we are going to continue to fail. It is very unfortunate that the government continues to politicize national security. I offered my service, and Kamala Prasad-Bissessar. We did it. You can't get more patriotism than that when it is political parties who are opposed to the government and saying, look, you are failing, but we want to help you because we want to put country first. And then when it is you have a prime minister that will look at that and say, I do not care. My ego, my arrogance, my hatred, my political views mean more than what is right for the country. That's virtually him saying that I don't care if it is that blood flows in the country. I will stick to my arrogance and my hatred and my ego, because what it is a certain man said, when a man doesn't have his way, he gets totally out of control. And then you have, the sad thing is, you have a country where a few hundred people in that Toko family, they applauded him. So you applaud a man who is basically saying, even though Gary Griffith and Kamala could, because under Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, you were saying it was the highest reduction, it was the lowest number of serious crime in 25 years. That was when I was minister, and then myself as commissioner. And you there, because you were in a red jersey, you're saying, well, even though that these people can assist to stop my daughter being raped, my son being kidnapped, my husband being killed, I will clap and applaud like a seal in Orlando. And that is sad that when citizens, they don't even care about their own security because they are so blinded by political loyalty. Thankfully, that is the minority. But it again shows to the point it is going to be virtually impossible, and as unfortunate as it is, I would love to be an optimist, when you have a prime minister who does not care and would not put country first. So it is going to continue we'll continue to go into quicksand. Ola Christopher, by her trying to parrot anything that her political employers have told her, she's going to put focus on legal firearms, where again, as I said, not one, under my watch, not one crime was committed, not one legal firearm was lost, stolen, or used for a murder. But this is her focus on legal firearms. So until the government is changed, it is going to be very difficult for me to try to mislead the country in the hope that there's going to be some significant upward mobility in crime reduction.
Captain Griffith, I certainly want to thank you for your views on these matters. I think we have covered quite a number of recent developments, and I look forward to the next conversation we can have with you on these and other issues.
My pleasure. Anytime.